Morning, guys. So I've had a few people comment on my last video that I made about this truck with the strobe lights and how they are wired up. So I figured I'd just do a nice quick walk around. It's a little chilly out this morning. So everything, the way it's wired up, this is a trickle charger, keeps the battery charged when I'm plugged in at night to keep the engine warm with the block heater and whatnot as well. So the way this is wired up is I got a positive wire here and I got a negative wire coming off my battery with a inline fuse. This one is for this light here. Those come to that relay box, screwed to the firewall there. The harness comes down and through the firewall, and that bumper bar is attached to this push button switch. So it's got four modes. It's a solid white. Let's see if I can put you down and just let you kind of see. If I don't drop you off the stand. So it's got solid white, white strobe, solid orange, and an orange strobe. So that's the light bar itself. Then I have two pods in the front bumper, which are strobes on the sides and fogs or spotlights, floodlight combos in the middle. So the way those are wired up, at least the fog section, I turn on my headlights and I pull my factory fog knob. That turns on my low beams and the fog lights. It just utilizes the wiring for the factory fog lights. Now when it comes to the strobe lights and how those are all wired up, that I made a little differently. So I've got a cord that plugs into my cigarette lighter and it runs down, and under this kick panel is all the wiring and the switches. So every switch has so these four here have its own separate fuse. I know that's only a 10 amp fuse for the cigarette lighter, and each of these lights themselves or switches are wired with a 5 amp fuse. The LEDs, I mean, they pull very little power. So this is the main power to it, and then that turns on all the accessory switches. These two control my strobe lights. So this top switch here does my front strobes, this switch does my rear strobes. The wiring then comes down, zip tied through the factory harnessing, and goes out through the firewall to its respective spot. So there's a set of wiring that comes through the firewall. This feeds my one side strobe. It continues on down, and that white wire then feeds down through to the strobe on the side of that guy for the fog light. Continues on down through that white wire, feeds that strobe, and it comes up along to feed that strobe. Now as for the strobe lights in the rear of the truck, I have one wire that goes down this pillar, runs underneath this trim paneling. I'm sorry, my truck's an absolute mess due to COVID and everything. I've been the only one who's been in my truck in the last 6 months. But anyways, the wire still continues to run through here. runs behind the seat, and there's a grommet where the wire comes out of. Just a factory grommet. It's, don't know if you can even see it or not. It's kind of hard to show it, and it's too cold to be laying on the ice. But then it comes down and it runs along. You can see that little blue wire there. It runs along the frame with the factory wiring all the way down. It comes up behind the bumper to these two lights. Just drilled a small hole that the wire will feed through on each side, and that feeds those guys. And then there's a wire tap that goes down to feed these guys. So that's how that's all set up. And then, I mean, throw on the hazard lights, throw on the front. Now the mirror lights flash with the hazards. Signal lights are flashing because of the hazards. I can choose to have my white strobe on if I want. If I need to illuminate wherever I'm at, I can just change it to a solid orange or a solid white. But that's it with all the strobes activated. So the difference you might notice from the last video was I changed out my headlight housings to some nice Spider, I can't remember the brand actually. I know they're Spider something. I'll post a screenshot of what they are somewhere up there. But I'm still tempted to put some hideaway strobes up in here somewhere. Or get a strobe controller that will flash these three white. And I don't know if the halos will show up. Halos don't tend to really show up too well on video, but they're actually fairly bright. So yeah, that's just a quick little update of the lights and how they're wired. I've made it so that if I ever choose to get rid of this wiring, I mean, this little panel beside the center console pulls out, and I just snip off the ends of the wire and she's done. But it's made it a fairly clean install. I didn't have dozens of switches drilled through the dashboard or anything like that then, and it just made it all look nicer. So yeah, that's how that's all wired up then. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and have yourselves a great day.